Anyways, I'm never beating the redneck allegations.
In the last episode of this series, I talked about the appeal of professional wrestling, a form of entertainment that disguises itself as a sport. In this episode,
Nice.
I'm going to talk about NASCAR, a sport which
NASCAR,
tries to disguise itself as entertaining. Today, NASCAR's Monster Energy Cup Series tours around the country racing in front of mostly empty arenas as sponsorships and television ratings continue to wane. At least with professional wrestling, while not many fans enjoy it anymore, there's still at least a small nucleus of people that still care about it.
Me included.
It's nearly impossible to find anyone these days who actually cares about NASCAR.
Hold on, I'm gonna give my best NASCAR noise impression.
Most people, upon hearing the name NASCAR, immediately think of...
I have a feeling that EmpLemon has some sort of effect on NASCAR by revitalizing it. That and F1, to an extent.
...of a dumb sport where dumb rednecks watch cars go around in circles. But I'm here to tell you that's wrong. The cars actually go around in ovals. In all seriousness, though, it ain't easy being a NASCAR fan. It ain't easy having to constantly justify to people why you like something that's about as popular as licorice.
You're
There was
dumb.
once a time when many more people liked NASCAR.
Fuck
but
you,
that time
asshole.
has long since passed.
Kills you
the vacuous
in real
boredom
life.
often associated with the sport today has paradoxically created intrigue for reasons why anyone would even like it in the first place. Trying to convince anybody to actually care about NASCAR is a pretty tall order, but that won't stop me from trying. Because there's one driver in the sport's turbulent history that truly embodies all of the reasons why NASCAR was, at one time, the second most popular sport in America. This is the story of Dale Earnhardt.
Dale Earnhardt. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Episode 3. The number 3. The Intimidator. Dale Earnhardt. The GOAT
Many
of
my
NASCAR.
viewers like to draw comparisons between me and a writer by the name of John Boyes. And
John
it's a pretty fair
Boyes.
comparison.
He's a Hobbesian, as you can see. He will tackle you and eat all your tuna.
Considering John Boyes is one of my biggest inspirations as a creator today.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, that's right. I actually just wow, today I learned he made 17,776 1777 so much sevens. So much sevens you'd swear it's a bungee joint. But yeah, he literally made big baseball. He loves baseball so much, there's huge baseball. Oh, it's huge football. Excuse me. Huge football. I'm developing a new sport called huge football. Hell yeah. I should read that. Maybe I should put that. That's awesome. I'm sorry for taking off the video. I was doing a bit of research.
Last Halloween, John wrote a short story about a pitcher who sells his soul to Satan and falls away from the earth in the middle of a baseball game. While this story is clearly a work of fiction, it is eerily comparable to the real life and death of Dale Earnhardt. Our story begins in the rural American town of Kannapolis, North Carolina.
North
Sometime
Carolina.
in the late 1960s, a young Dale Earnhardt drops out of high school and uses what little money he has to start competing at locally sanctioned dirt track races. Earnhardt most likely shares the same lofty, unobtainable pipe dream as all of his competitors, to work his way up the ranks and eventually race in the top series of NASCAR.
NASCAR, woo!
Like Dale Earnhardt, had its origins in the rural American South. The roots of the sport can be traced back to the Prohibition era, where moonshiners, attempting to smuggle barrelfuls of illegal whiskey, would tune up their cars to be able to outrun police. When Prohibition ended in the 1930s,
finally could drink booze again.
Nothing to do but race each other. Small, unsanctioned races began to take place all across the South, but perhaps no other place became a more popular racing destination than Daytona Beach, Florida.
Daytona!
The beaches of Daytona feature finely grained sand that forms a hard, compact surface ideal for auto racing. In the early 20th century, automotive engineers would use the beaches of Daytona to try to break the land speed record. Eventually, record attempts would migrate to the salt flats of Bonneville, Utah, leaving Daytona open for a new frontier of stock car racing.
Nice! Stock cars.
Stock car racing differs greatly from other racing series such as IndyCar or Formula One. These types of open-wheel racing feature expertly crafted machines specifically designed to maximize speed and handling. While open-wheel machines require an impressive degree of skill and finesse to operate, their design also leaves them very fragile, rendering them virtually unable to contact each other on the track, as even a slight tap can produce a scrapyard of wrecked race cars.
And
because
dead
of this,
bodies
open-wheel racers
everywhere.
rarely ever touch, resulting in very clean and fluid racing.
Sophisticated,
stock cars are pretty much the complete opposite.
but stock
it
cars
asks the question of what would happen if you bought a car from the dealership and started racing it. Naturally, consumer-grade cars are much more bulky and less aerodynamically dependent than their open-wheel counterparts. This allows stock cars to take much more of a beating while still remaining competitive, leading to a style of racing that is slower but much more durable and contact-heavy. It's a style of
like
racing that started to become wildly popular in the American South. And perhaps no other man was more responsible for the rise of American stock car racing than Bill France. Bill France was a fan of stock car racing since the days of his youth in the Roaring '20s, where he would skip school to drive laps in his parents' Model T. When the Great Depression struck, Big Bill would flee to Daytona with less than $100 to his name, but he was able to stay afloat by racing cars on the beach. Eventually, Bill France would transition from race driver to race promoter, and on February 21st, 1948, he revolutionized American motorsports by founding the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing.
NASCAR!
Before NASCAR, stock car racing mostly featured scattered and disorganized events with inconsistent rules. With no major governing body to sanction races, there was nothing stopping some promoters from just not paying drivers the winnings they were owed. NASCAR changed all of this by organizing a unified schedule of racing events, complete with a singular rule set, championship point system, and guaranteed driver winnings. NASCAR truly became the first legitimate stock car racing league in America, and all of a sudden, the allure of earning fame and fortune through a life of racing began to attract drivers from far and wide. One of these drivers was a young Ralph Earnhardt, who in 1953 started racing full-time in NASCAR's Sportsman Series. Ralph Earnhardt's talent on quarter-mile dirt tracks made him a regional racing star in the Carolinas, and even won him the Sportsman Series championship in 1956. And even though he would use his racing talent to single-handedly lift himself out of poverty, he surprisingly didn't wish the same destiny upon his son, Dale Earnhardt.
There he
Both
is,
Ralph and Dale
the
grew up
main
in
character
Kannapolis,
of the
North Carolina,
story.
a town so rural that it wasn't even incorporated until 1984. Before that, almost everyone born into this place had no way out. Only Ralph Earnhardt's racing talent could save him from a lifelong career at the local cotton mill. Dale Earnhardt saw his father as his greatest inspiration, and he saw racing as his only real ticket to success. Ralph Earnhardt didn't want his son to race, despite his own talent in the sport. Talent is a very rare thing. If everyone were talented, no one would be. Ralph Earnhardt probably knew this, and if he had his way, Dale Earnhardt would have quit racing to graduate high school and get a nice desk job in the big city. He probably never expected his son to become one of the greatest drivers ever. He never lived to see it either. Just 20 years after he began racing full-time, Ralph Earnhardt died of a heart attack. Dale Earnhardt could have followed his father's wishes, and if he did, he'd probably still be around today. But instead, he chose to follow in his father's footsteps. And in trying to prove to his late father that he belonged in a race car, Dale Earnhardt would accidentally become one of the best in the world. Just 6 years later, he found himself at the crossroads of history.
From Kannapolis all the way to Daytona. Daytona.
In rush hour traffic, take a look at that. Earnhardt blazes back into the front of this group. There's Earnhardt, your leader, out of turn 4.
Aw, yeah.
Even at the very beginning of Dale Earnhardt's rookie season in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series, his talent was undeniable. For a moment, he found himself leading the 21st annual Daytona 500,
Piston
which may
tastes
have
good
been
like
the
a
most
cigarette
important
should.
race in the history of NASCAR. Daytona International Speedway is quite possibly the greatest arena ever constructed by man. The scale of this place is difficult to describe, but let's just say it's big enough to be sunny on one end and stormy on the other. This modern-day Coliseum is the fruit of one of the most ambitious engineering projects of the 20th century, conceived from the outrageous imagination of none other than Bill France.
There he is
After 20
again,
years of
Bill
watching sloppy
France.
races on the beach, Bill France sought to construct a racetrack where drivers would never have to let off the throttle. The result was a 2.5-mile-long tri-oval surrounded by a 31-degree embankment. The sheer size of these corners is downright intimidating. It looks like you'd have a hard time walking up them, let alone driving on them.
That's
the mere
pretty
architecture of this place boggles the mind today, so you could only imagine the amazement of the 42,000 spectators who witnessed the inaugural running of the Daytona 500. The pure spectacle of almost 60 stock cars barreling around an asphalt bowl at 135 miles per hour was something that no one had ever seen before.
Crazy.
And after an unforgettable photo finish, the Daytona 500 immediately established itself as the most prestigious event on the NASCAR schedule. For every stock car driver in America, a win at Daytona is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
There it is,
at
the pot of gold.
Its opening in 1959,
St. Patrick's
Daytona
is coming as a
International
recording.
Speedway was the largest track of its kind. 10 years later, Bill France would build an even bigger one in Talladega, Alabama. And while Talladega Superspeedway would also go on to be very popular with fans, it would not displace the Daytona 500 as NASCAR's
If you want to race, you gotta go to Daytona.
And that's why in 1979,
and we all know what
CBS
happened at
broadcast the full
Talladega.
race live in front of a national audience. It would be the first live broadcast of an entire 500-mile motorsports event in the history of American television.
Crazy.
NASCAR found itself in a perfect storm of circumstances, quite literally, as on the day of the race, a blizzard left most of the eastern U.S. stuck indoors with nothing to do but watch the Daytona 500.
Guess we just gotta watch the boob tube.
15 million viewers tuned into this race, and for a brief moment, some of them got to see an
Dale
unknown driver by the name of
Earnhardt.
Dale Earnhardt leading the race. While his father dominated on short tracks, Dale Earnhardt would find his greatest success on the big ones, even though they would also provide him with his greatest turmoil. He didn't know it
What
at the
could
time,
that be?
nor did anybody else watching, but Dale Earnhardt was cursed. This is the story of a person and a place, a racer's relationship with a racetrack. This was merely the first chapter of Dale versus Daytona. Earnhardt
D
would go on to
versus
finish
D.
8th out of 41 drivers in this race.
Aw,
Not bad for his very
lame.
first attempt at NASCAR's most coveted prize. Dale Earnhardt's rookie effort would be reduced to an afterthought, however, as everyone's attention was instead drawn to perhaps the greatest finish in the history of NASCAR.
Let's all
Really?
come down to this. Out of turn 2, Donnie Allison in first. Where will Cale make his move? He comes to the inside. Donnie Allison throws the block. Cale hits him. Donnie Allison.
Oh shit! Come on! Oh shit! Oh! Richard Petty coming in back, coming in clutch. The Wicked Witch cursing people. There he is. There's Petty, and he wins. He takes it. He does it.
Becoming a 22-passenger school bus.
Look at all those people. Look at that people.
Between Cale Yarborough and Donnie Allison, the tempers.
Oh, they're beating the shit out of each other. NASCAR, they're angry. They know they've lost.
In just a matter
Oh,
of
they're
minutes,
beating the shit out of each
television
other.
audience got to experience
NASCAR.
dramatic racing, a crash, an unforgettable last lap pass, NASCAR's most iconic driver setting an unbreakable record, and a bare-knuckle fistfight. all on
And a
live TV.
fist fight.
All of a sudden,
Hell
the colloquial
yeah.
regional sport of NASCAR
This
found itself with a national audience.
This
The finish
NASCAR
made it
shit's
all the way to the front page of the
awesome.
New York Times sports section, and NASCAR would never be the same. The 1979 season saw Dale Earnhardt capture his first career win in just his 16th start.
On April
He would
Fool's,
win
no
the
less.
Rookie of the Year award for that season and go on to finish 7th in the overall standings in a year where
Nice.
Richard Petty won his 7th and final Winston Cup championship.
7
At this
Winston
point in
Cups.
time, Richard Petty is unanimously regarded as the
damn.
greatest driver in the history of the sport.
One of the GOATs.
Looking at it today, his career statistics seem almost mythical.
But is he-
Petty's 200
is he
career victories
the
are almost
GOAT?
double the next driver on NASCAR's all-time win list.
God
and his
damn.
7 series championships were, at the time, more than double any other driver. After the 1979 season, the mere notion of any other driver challenging Petty's throne as the greatest of all time was laughable. But if anyone were to do it,
Damn.
it would have to be a driver the likes of which no one had ever seen.
And it had to be Dale Earnhardt in the number 2. In the number 2. Nice.
In 1980,
His first win.
Dale Earnhardt shocked everyone by winning the Winston Cup Series championship in just his second full-time season. Only
Nice.
the 15th different driver to achieve the title of NASCAR champion. Already in his young career, Dale Earnhardt had joined some elite company. But he would soon learn that even when you're great, you're still a long
You're
way
still
from the
away
best.
from
Although
the
he began
GOAT.
with one of the greatest starts to any career in NASCAR history, Earnhardt's car owner Rod Osterlund would unexpectedly sell his race team midway through
What
the
the
1981
fuck?
season. Earnhardt
Thanks,
reacted poorly
jerk.
to this transition and struggled for the next few seasons while bouncing from owner to owner. After going winless in 1981, Dale Earnhardt had the
Damn.
worst statistical season of his career the following
Shouldn't have
season,
sold his
finishing the
baby.
1982 campaign with an abysmal average finish of 19th, while failing to finish more than half of his races for the year. After such a promising
Damn.
beginning, Earnhardt's Winston
What a
Cup career
shame.
had slammed straight into a concrete wall.
Oconto Raceway, Long Pond, Pennsylvania. Oh shit! Oh!
One of
Aw.
Earnhardt's 18 DNFs for the season resulted from a violent crash at Pocono that sent his number 15 Ford skidding on its roof down the embankment of the first corner.
Damn.
The accident would fracture his kneecap, but
Ow,
it wouldn't
my
stop
knee.
the scrappy Earnhardt from racing the very next week at Talladega, where he would
Oh.
suffer another hard
God
crash.
damn it.
This was surely the most trying time of Earnhardt's racing career. Many at this time began to wonder whether Earnhardt's 1980 championship was just a fluke. But Dale Earnhardt was not like the other drivers. He wasn't racing for the fame or the fortune.
He
was
did it for
racing
the
to
love of
prove
the
that he
game.
belonged. He was racing to prove himself to his late father, and when a man is dead set on accomplishing an impossible task, he will never stop chasing it.
Aw,
When faced with the lowest
yeah.
moment of his career, Dale Earnhardt did what he always did. He waited for an opportunity and pushed forward.
Fuck you, buddy. Yeah. Gas, gas, gas! He's gonna step on the gas, and he takes it. Okay, let's get to 84. The Talladega 500. There's the
In
number
1984,
3.
Dale Earnhardt found himself with a
The
new owner,
number 3.
Richard Childress, and a new car number, 3. He would stick
Yeah,
with both of them
there
for the
it
rest of his
is.
career. Under Childress, Earnhardt's career would immediately begin to rebound, and it would mark the beginning of his finest era. By 1986,
finest
Earnhardt
era.
would be champion once more, becoming
Another
just the
Winston
11th
Cup
driver
era?
in history to win multiple NASCAR championships.
Two
In
for 7.
1987, he had the best statistical season of his career, finishing the year
Nice.
with 11 wins and his 3rd Cup championship. And
Okay,
after this dominant
a little
season,
under halfway.
Earnhardt would return in black, embracing his new role as the
The
Intimidator.
Intimidator.
Now would probably be a good time to explain what exactly made Dale Earnhardt such a potent racer.
Yeah, Emp,
well,
why?
Dale Earnhardt first learned his racing style from watching his father slide around on dirt tracks, and he never really unlearned it. Remember earlier how I mentioned that the durability of stock cars allows them to more easily bump into each other?
Yep.
Well, Dale Earnhardt would take this idea and turn his vehicle into a weapon. Earnhardt would make frequent use of
It's
the
a
bump and run,
battering
a racing
ram.
tactic where a driver uses the inertia of their own car to move other drivers out of the way and advance their position. It's a maneuver that's
Nice.
practically unheard of in open wheel racing
Bump
because
and
it's really only
run.
possible in a series like NASCAR. Even within NASCAR, the bump and run is still a highly controversial move. Racing purists consider it a dirty tactic, as it detracts
Dirty
from the skill
driving!
of outlining your
Hey,
competitors.
what a
Other fans view
asshole!
it as a valid and necessary part of stock car racing.
It's like wave
considering
dashing.
It's a viable strategy that's not against
Rubbin's
the rules.
racing.
Your outlook of this issue most likely determined whether or not you were a fan of Dale Earnhardt.
Rubbin
as
is
his
racing.
frequent use of the bump
Shake
and
and
run
bake.
quickly made him one of the most polarizing drivers in NASCAR.
Rubbin is
and his
racing.
notoriety would only
Lure-
grow as
wave
he
dash
became
or
one of the
die.
most dominant
Tekken
drivers
7.
in the sport.
Tekken
For many
and
drivers,
Smash.
nothing was scarier than seeing Dale Earnhardt
Tekken
in
and
your
Smash.
rearview
Learn it
mirror.
or die.
If you saw the number 3 Chevy behind you, you would either get out of his way, or he would make you get out of his way. For many years,
Or Infinites
Earnhardt
and
was
Marvel
NASCAR's
2.
greatest heel.
It's not fair, and they try to race nice and clean. And
You know, the thing of it is, you go
Nice
out
and
you run
clean.
as hard as you can all day long, and then him trying to cut you out to outrun it, that ain't the way I was brought up racing.
I guess
Racing.
what they were insinuating, don't go run into Dale Earnhardt.
If you weren't an Earnhardt fan, it was probably very
Clean
easy to
racing
hate
is
him,
for those
because there
F1
was a good chance
pansies.
you could recall a time when he wrecked your favorite driver.
Bam.
Despite Earnhardt's tendency to enforce his will upon other drivers on the track, he certainly had his fair share of supporters.
Yeah.
Dale Earnhardt raced in real
Number
life how
3.
anybody races the first time they pick up a NASCAR video game.
Hell
the other
yeah.
drivers were just obstacles separating him from first place. Many
Real-
fans found Earnhardt's
real and
cavalier
true.
style endearing and relatable. He would struggle and claw for every single position, much like how many fans in the poor American South had to struggle for every paycheck. Who cares if he bangs up some other cars, he's just trying to win like the rest of them. An uneducated small-town hick with no other prospects trying to turn lemons into lemonade. For anyone
So
stuck in
true.
rural America, Earnhardt represented the way out. Standing outside of
The
his car,
American way.
Earnhardt was just like them. But as soon as he stepped inside that black number 3, he transformed into a racing god. A lot of Earnhardt's
Hell
detractors
yeah.
pointed to his racing style as
Dirty,
an unfair
reckless,
crutch, but
cheater,
eventually, for
lame.
anyone watching long enough, his talent was undisputable.
But they don't say him wrong. And there he is. He still has the lead.
Although Dale Earnhardt remains one of the most memorable NASCAR drivers to this day, he was never the most popular driver. That distinction belonged to Bill Elliott.
Billy
The thing of it
Elliott.
is, I have been not the aggressive driver.
Billy
all my
Elliott.
life. You know, I've tried to give and take with the best of the things. But when a guy cuts you off that bad and that obvious, it's time to take the other cheek.
Awesome Bill from Dawsonville,
Awesome
Georgia,
Bill
was in
from
many ways a
Dawsonville.
foil
That's
to
a
Dale
name.
Earnhardt. He,
That's
too,
a-
came from a racing family and rose to prominence in the 80s as one of NASCAR's best.
That's an awesome
The
name.
soft-spoken and humble
So what
Elliott
exactly makes
contrasted heavily with
NASCAR
the
special
outspoken
again?
and brash Earnhardt. Whereas Earnhardt would
We're
gain
watching a
notoriety
video
for his
on it.
combative racing style, the name of Elliott's game was speed. Over the past
Speed.
decade in NASCAR, the overall
I
speeds of the
am
race cars have gradually
speed.
risen, especially on the giant superspeedways of Daytona and Talladega. In 1984, Cale Yarborough became the first stock car driver in history to set a 200-mile-per-hour qualifying lap.
There
at
it
Daytona.
is.
The very next lap,
big
he would
speed.
lose control and total his race car.
Oh shit! And it's a blowover too.
As the
That
speeds
blowover
crept
too.
upwards,
Holy
The
shit.
drivers crept ever closer to the edge of control.
Uh-oh.
Despite the newfound risk, NASCAR's top speeds continued to climb.
It kept
With
getting
each new
worse and worse.
superspeedway event, engineers and crews would roll out ever so faster cars. And
We're
from
getting too
1985
fast.
to 1987, no car was faster than Bill Elliott's red and white Ford Thunderbird. Perhaps his most stunning
Thunderbird.
achievement came in the 1985 Winston 500.
But what makes it so
when
special?
Elliott cut an oil line and fell 2 laps behind the leaders,
Shit.
only to make up the entire deficit under green and
God
win the race.
damn!
His
In
car
less
was
than
simply that
100
much
laps.
faster than the others.
In modern times, nobody has monopolized NASCAR racing like Bill Elliott. He has raced around this season faster than a person throwing double sixes.
2 years later
Hot
at the same
damn.
event, Bill Elliott would set NASCAR's all-time speed record,
How fast?
212.8 miles per
Wow,
hour.
that's fast. So if you need a refresher on what makes NASCAR so special, because compared to open wheel racing like F1 or Indy car, NASCARs are much bulkier and they can push and shove each other, leading for more contact heavy racing. Because if you make contact in open wheel racing, well, You could cause a big pile up, if not a couple deaths.
For comparison, the pole speed for the Indianapolis 500 that same year, the fastest open wheel race, was 2:15. It's also important to note that, on average, a stock car weighs about twice as much as an Indy car.
Hot damn.
There's been a pretty big
By the
elephant
way,
in the room
address
during this
me.
whole video. So far I've talked
Address
on and on
me.
about the history of NASCAR, but I've yet to explain why people actually like it.
Oh, here you go.
I mean, sure, it's easy to cherry pick the sport's most exciting moments, but what about the other 99% of the time is just regular old-fashioned racing? What's the appeal
what's
of
the
watching
appeal
cars go
of
around in
NASCAR?
circles?
Like
well,
what a
long
chat
story
member
short,
said.
people don't watch NASCAR for the same reasons they watch other sports. You can pick up a football and start playing right now in your
You can
backyard.
pick up a football or
you can't just
soccer
hop in a NASCAR
or soccer.
and start racing people. In order to understand the appeal of NASCAR, we have to talk about soldiers, astronauts, and prestige. Being a soldier comes with a certain amount of prestige. Most people find their sacrifice admirable, but you don't have to search far to find people who disagree.
We call them
hard-pressed,
commies.
However, to find anyone who doubts the prestige of an astronaut. You can talk about intelligence and science degrees and technical skill all you want, but the fact of the matter is that soldiers fight against other soldiers in man-made wars, while astronauts fight against the surly bonds of nature itself. It takes bravery to volunteer yourself to go fight in some far-off foreign land, but it takes a whole nother level of bravery to strap yourself into a pressurized metal canister and fly out of the top of the sky. Astronauts have so much prestige because they come the closest to kissing the snarling jaws of certain death. There's no denying that war is also deadly, but humans have been fighting and killing each other since the dawn of man. It's easy to understand the nature of warfare. It's difficult to understand the limits of nature itself. And nothing is more terrifying than what we don't understand. Who am I kidding? This is a dumb analogy. NASCAR drivers are nothing like astronauts. I mean, come on. Have you ever seen a NASCAR fly?
But have we? We have a couple times. We have a few times.
In the
Let's
race
look
immediately
back
corresponding
at
with Bill Elliott's
Talladega.
record-breaking qualifying lap, Bobby Allison would blow a tire in the tri-oval.
Oh
The
shit.
back of his car would lift off the ground and sail into the catch fence at nearly 200 miles per hour.
Oh
It
fuck.
turns out that if you spin a car sideways at a fast enough speed, the aerodynamics will force the car aloft
The
like the wing of an airplane.
blowover.
In the 1987 Winston 500,
blowover.
the 210 mile per hour pace was enough to lift up Bobby Allison's 3,500 pound race car like a piece of paper. For a brief, surreal moment, all of NASCAR stood still. By pure chance, Allison's left front fender clipped the wall the instant before the back of his car hit the catch fence, which redirected the momentum of his car away from the spectators. Had Allison spun at just a slightly different angle, we could have witnessed a tragedy on the scale of the 1955 Le Mans disaster, where an out-of-control race car was projected into the stands at a very high speed. 83 spectators
Instant
were killed in the catastrophe, leading many European nations to place a temporary ban on all motorsports. To this day, it remains the deadliest accident in racing history.
Le Mans.
Allison's car had sheared a 100-foot gap in the protective fencing, and NASCAR fans
Holy
found themselves staring into
shit.
an eerie window of what could have happened. Miraculously, only 5 spectators were injured, and no one was killed. The line between
Thank
driver and
God.
spectator had been severed, and it could have ended NASCAR entirely. Fortunately, NASCAR would make good use of their second chance, as the era of speed came to a permanent end.
We're going a little too fast. We gotta pump the
This
brakes,
accident
literally.
would force NASCAR to implement restrictor plates at all future superspeedway races, which would limit the horsepower of all cars to keep them below dangerous speeds. This would profoundly change the way drivers raced at Daytona and Talladega. Gone were the days of Bill Elliott making up 5 miles under green. Restrictor plates made it so that cars could no longer pull away from each other, instead emphasizing the attractive effects of slipstream. Simple racing moves such as passing were now drastically altered,
Hell yeah.
as timing and aerodynamics were now much more important than speed and handling.
Restrictor ate it all up. It made everybody the same speed, and that made it
Restrictor
probably more
plates.
dangerous than when we were running 210.
Naturally, many drivers were unhappy with this new change, and no
They
driver
patched
hated
it.
restrictor plate racing more than
That
Dale
it fucking
Earnhardt,
sucks.
which was a little odd considering he was the best restrictor plate racer on the planet.
Oh hey, FF10 music. I am for safety, but raceways have always been for high speeds. Wins a shit ton. It took all the racing out of it. It's followed the leader out there. We bumped more today than we ever did. It's a damn fiasco. Every car out there has tire marks on it. It makes everybody race together. It stinks. To me, it sounds like a deal for pansies. It'll just make it more dangerous. Everyone will be top of each other. I hate restrictor plate races. All of them, none of them are good.
It was one of the most dominant runs of any race category in motorsports history, and it happened during a time when NASCAR had arguably its toughest ever competition. The 90s truly were a golden age of NASCAR in popular culture. Attendance and television ratings steadily rose as movies like Days of Thunder drew from across the nation.
Hell
Big
yeah.
brands and TV networks were lining up to capture their own slice of the booming NASCAR scene. NASCAR
Everyone wants a piece of NASCAR.
And it had fundamentally transformed itself from a simple showcase of speed in the prior decade. The sponsors, drivers, tracks, and cars had all changed, but one thing remained the same. Dale Earnhardt was dominating the competition.
Hot Wheels and Nerves of Steel.
Dale Earnhardt would win 4 more Cup championships. And there he is. Richard Petty's record of 7. A record considered by many to be untouchable just 10 years prior. With each new championship, it became harder and harder for people to disregard Earnhardt's success. Although many still resented his racing style, you can't win 7 NASCAR championships without being a pretty talented driver. Earnhardt's detractors were simply running out of excuses to deny his greatness. Soon, there was only one thing keeping Dale out of the conversation for the greatest of all time.
Now, you've not won Daytona, right?
I've won Daytona, the firecracker race in July, but I haven't won the Daytona 500.
Well, look at those
That's
pixels.
Like the Super Bowl race for us.
Uh-oh.
After 17
Daytona.
years of effort, the Daytona 500 belongs to Franklin, Tennessee's Darrell Waltrip. He's done it.
Damn. Darrell Waltrip.
In 1989, Darrell Waltrip won his first and only Daytona 500 in his 17th attempt. At the time, he was considered the best driver to never win it, and after he did, everyone was left to wonder about the next best driver to take Waltrip's
now, who's
place.
else is going to win Daytona?
Many thought of Dale Earnhardt, who had yet to win the Daytona 500 after 11 tries.
I mean, Dale?
But surely in 1990, while entering the final corner of the final lap in first place, after leading 3/4 of the race, Earnhardt could put the narrative to rest.
They still run single file,
Will he? Will he? Will he win it? Does he win it?
Another car length over Cope. The body can't do anything with Cope either. Earnhardt's car blows up.
Shit!
Blows the tire in turn number 3.
God damn it! Tire blew up! Ah, he should have pitted. Cope. You won just 2 races, and this is one of them? Fuck. That's lame.
Dale, what the heck happened on the last lap?
We run over some debris and cut a right rear tire down, David. Just a 1/4 of a lap away from victory.
Just bad luck? How about 91?
In 1991, Earnhardt would damage his car after hitting a seagull, forcing him to pit.
Shit.
He would battle all the way back to 2nd place before crashing.
That seagull got fucking pulverized. It got pulled.
In 1991, Earnhardt would damage his car after hitting a seagull, forcing him to pit. He would battle all the way back to 2nd place before crashing with 2 laps to go.
Dale Earnhardt.
God damn it.
The Daytona 500 again.
All because of a fucking seagull. Okay,
Earnhardt would get
92.
caught up in a crash that wasn't his fault. A newfound consequence of restrictor plate racing were massive crashes that would often wipe out over a dozen cars. After a while, these crashes seemed almost inevitable due to the extremely close pack racing that now resembled rush hour traffic, but at 190 miles per hour. One slight error by a single driver could spark a chain reaction that would take many cars out of the race. It was one of Earnhardt's main reasons for hating restrictor plate racing, and he would fall victim to it numerous
crashes
times.
Why people watch NASCAR?
In
well, it's one of the reasons.
Earnhardt
okay, here's
would
93.
Lead most of the race,
well,
only to finish
does he
second
do
after
it?
Dale Jarrett passed him on the final lap. After a 7th place finish in 94, Earnhardt would finish 2nd again in 1995.
Damn
and
it,
again
2nd,
in 1996.
and then 2nd.
Later in the 96 season, Earnhardt would suffer a horrific-looking crash that sent his number 3 Chevy tumbling down the Talladega front stretch.
Damn! Holy shit!
Dale Earnhardt attempting to walk to the ambulance as he walks away from one of the
broke his sternum, collarbone, and shoulder, but he's still gonna race.
Hated restrictor plate racing. It was starting to look like restrictor plate racing hated him.
Wow, the feeling is mutual. Surely 97 will... surely 97 will be different.
If we get the right help, we're at the right place at the right times. Like I just told Richard, I said, what do you think? You know him better than I do. He said, I've been here a lot of times before, and you can bet he's been in the floor pan right now with that throttle pedal, but if it's racing God's time to shine on that 3, we'll just have to see.
As was the formula at this point, Earnhardt ran up front all day and found himself in a battle for the lead with just a few laps to go. And all of a sudden, he found himself on his roof once again.
And he flips over. God damn.
Big trouble. Earnhardt out.
Earnhardt out.
Up and over number 3. And for the
19th time.
Deals a bad hand.
Lady Luck is a fucking whore.
But Dale Earnhardt's misfortune in the Daytona 500 really made me consider it. For some wicked reason, the 7-time NASCAR champion and best superspeedway racer in the world could not, for the life of him, win this one superspeedway race. Earnhardt's gut-wrenching futility at this one event is made even more insane when you consider that he's the winningest driver in the history of the track. No, seriously. By 1997, Earnhardt had won pretty much every stock car event at Daytona multiple times over, all except the one that mattered most. After 19 tries and 19 failures, he should have been completely discouraged. But Dale Earnhardt was not a quitting man. He wasn't even willing to quit this race.
What a pile of grit. Earnhardt is in the car. He's barking instructions to the crew. This thing is so beat up. If Earnhardt can make 1 lap or 2, it's an absolute miracle.
Even though he still got to do it. Chance of winning, Dale Earnhardt would hop out of the ambulance and back into his mangled car to finish the race.
And he's still gonna do it.
Moment of his career. Dale Earnhardt did what he always did. He waited for an opportunity and pushed forward.
98, the 20th attempt.
Has a benefit. There's a slow car up ahead. And there's trouble coming off of turn 2. Some cars get strangled, and it might be this. Whoever gets back to the start-finish line, they'll get the white and the yellow together.
20 years of trying.
20 years of trying. 20 years of frustration. And he did it. And he did it. He won it.
Every man on every crew.
He won it.
Come out to the edge of
he finally did it.
To congratulate the man who has dominated everything there is to win in this sport, except this race, until today.
Until today, he finally won it.
That'll happen if you dominate any sport. But today, when they introduced the Intimidator, the crowd was full of cheers.
For all them race fans and all them people have been saying, Dale, this is your year. Dale,
this is your year, surely. 20th time's the charm. The Daytona 20.
We won it.
The 500 is ours. We won it, we won it, we won it.
The hangover from Earnhardt's Daytona 500 victory lasted throughout the 1998 season, where Dale would not win another race and finish a distant 8th in points. Perhaps overcoming the single greatest foe in his racing career was a little demotivating. After winning the 500, Earnhardt had almost nothing left to accomplish. He could have tried for another championship, breaking the tie with Richard Petty, but both he and a lot of others began to tell that his age was starting to get the best of him. Later in the 98 season, Earnhardt suffered his second hard crash at Talladega in 2 years. In the post-race interview, Earnhardt for the first time ever sounded fed up, exhausted, and demoralized.
What was the day like up to that point?
Good. It's not good racing, though. Y'all can talk about all you want. It ain't good racing.
In 1999, Earnhardt would infamously dump Terry Labonte to win at Bristol.
Leader change and Labonte takes the lead. And meanwhile, Ricky Rudd trying to...
And... boink!
Dale Earnhardt takes the checkered flag.
And he takes
it. Goodwill he had from his crowning achievement just a year prior had worn out its welcome, as Earnhardt was showered in a chorus of boos from the 140,000 in attendance.
Damn. They fucking hate him.
At this point, Earnhardt and the fans had a mutual yearning for something new.
I'm here with Dale Earnhardt after he just won the Die Hard 500.
What's the question, dude?
Yeah, what's the question?
How was the race?
How was the race?
Dale Earnhardt Jr. is Texas Motor Speedway's second first-time Winston Cup winner.
While Dale Earnhardt never achieved his dream of racing alongside his father, he was able to race alongside his son. Dale Earnhardt Jr. made his full-time Winston Cup debut in 2000 under his father's own race team. Dale Jr. captured his first career win in just his 12th
Oh, that's an
overall
unfortunate
start,
acronym.
almost 21 years to the day of his father's
April
first win.
Fools?
In Victory
Nah.
Lane that day, Dale
Post
Sr. appeared
Fools
to
Day.
take more pride in his son's accomplishment than any of his own. Racing with his son seemed to renew Dale Earnhardt's sense of purpose. Some would say that's all he ever really wanted, to race side by side with his own flesh and blood. And although the aging Earnhardt was nearing the end of his career, he would still make you think twice about questioning his greatness.
And time for the Winston 500. Show your body. Body. I don't know the lyrics of this song. Coaches say not confusion, illusion. Right into the right. Oh yeah, now I remember. Deja vu. I've been in this place before. Higher on the street, I'm not knowing what time to go. Coming new. I believe. Yeah. No karaoke, by the way. Especially because I don't remember the lyrics of that song. And he does it!
Legend has it that Dale Earnhardt was so good at restrictor plate racing because he could see the air coming off of the other cars and use this ability to perfectly time his passes. Dale Earnhardt's 76th and final career win came, fittingly, in a restrictor plate race at Talladega.
At Talladega.
This moment. That is Michael Waltrip out of control.
And Michael Waltrip gets blown out. Holy shit.
Prior to the start of the 2001 season, DEI signed Michael Waltrip to drive the number 15 Chevy.
Dang.
Michael Waltrip had spent his entire career racing in the shadow of his older brother Darrell, and after 15 lackluster seasons, Michael Waltrip was still seeking his first career win. Dale Earnhardt believed in Michael, however, and he would open 2001 racing not just with his son, but with his team. I think all of you know what happens next. It was probably the only thing you knew about Dale Earnhardt. On one February afternoon, Dale Earnhardt would enter his black number 3 for the final time.
Oh. February 18th, 2001. At Daytona International Speedway. At the 43rd Daytona 500. At the Daytona 500. With Michael Waltrip, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and a few other racers. What will happen this time? All right. I think it's shake and bake time. Let's go. Lap 173. Damn, the big one. A big one. And a blowover as well. Of course.
Against the backstretch wall number 20.
Damn.
Hit by every car in the field seems like, and Tony Stewart's car just took a whale of a ride.
God damn. Every car.
Incidentally, the crash would leave Dale Earnhardt in 3rd position behind the DEI cars of Dale Jr. and Michael Waltrip.
Damn.
As the laps wound down, everyone began
dominating.
to realize that Dale Earnhardt wasn't trying to win the race. Rather, he was holding back the rest of the field so that his team could win instead. Dale managed to hold off everybody until the final corner of the final lap.
The final corner in the final lap, and yeah,
Big trouble.
The cameras cut away from the accident. It should have been one of the happiest moments in NASCAR history, as Darrell Waltrip joyfully commentated his brother's first win on the grandest stage of all. A storybook ending to a picturesque day of thrilling, action-packed racing.
But
and then the
what
cameras
happened to
cut to Dale
Sr.?
Earnhardt's crumpled vehicle lying at rest in the infield grass. Nobody knew it at the time, but the greatest tragedy in NASCAR history had just occurred. Dale Earnhardt, NASCAR's greatest driver, was dead at 49.
This is undoubtedly one of the toughest announcements that I've ever personally had to make. But after the accident in turn 4 at the end of the Daytona 500, we've lost Dale Earnhardt.
We lost Dale Earnhardt. And NASCAR
The official
is
cause
dead.
of death is listed as a basilar skull fracture sustained as a result of blunt force trauma. When Dale Earnhardt struck the turn 4 wall, he died instantly. Looking back on it all today, it's hard
Black
to believe it even
Sunday.
happened. Dale Earnhardt was NASCAR's Iron Man, the toughest driver in the sport. He hadn't missed a race since his rookie season. He walked away from this and this.
He walked
Why
away
did
from
he
all of
die
this, but
from this.
from this?
How did no one die
How?
from this crash earlier in the race? Well,
How?
at over 190 miles per hour, destinies can be profoundly altered by a matter of inches. NASCAR's greatest tragedy was avoided by inches, and NASCAR's greatest tragedy was caused by inches. In the lap 173 crash, Dale Earnhardt was just inches away from getting collected. Ironically, if Earnhardt had just been a little less fortunate here, it's likely that he would still be alive today.
I remember him coming on there, and I can't remember if it was before or as soon as the wreck happened or during the red flag, but he said, "Richard, if they don't do something to these cars, it's going to end up killing somebody."
And that somebody was him.
Dale Earnhardt was always
It
aware
ended
of
up being
NASCAR's darkest
him.
secret. He just never imagined that he'd be the one reminding everyone of the truth. NASCAR is caked with the blood of dead drivers. The reason NASCAR was
That's
so
why
compelling
people love NASCAR.
was because it was deadly. Obviously, no one actively wished death upon drivers, but it was mutually understood as an inherent risk of gliding around in a 3,500-pound hunk of metal at 190
Because
miles
we
per
liked
hour.
seeing
Every
people
few
die.
years or so, a driver would unexpectedly die in a race. Since the very beginning of the sport, this was the dark reality in the back of everyone's mind. You never wanted
We
to
all
see it happen,
like watching
but when
live
it
leaks,
did, you
right?
accepted it as inevitable and moved on.
It's inevitable.
Dale's death was very different, though. Many racing fans still haven't moved on. It was just too
This
painful.
one may never
the
sink
biggest
in.
icon in racing dying in
It's
the middle
been
of the biggest
15 years,
event.
and it's
Imagine
been
if
25
Michael
years,
Jordan died
and
during the NBA Finals, or if Tom Brady died during the Super Bowl.
yeah, what if a fucking basketball just clean clocked him, just clean clocked Michael Jordan in the head, killing him instantly, snapping his neck? People would watch a lot more basketball than they already did.
This is what it felt like watching Dale Earnhardt die in the Daytona 500, and in my humble opinion, it's the single worst tragedy in the history of American sports. Even though
Damn.
Dale Earnhardt's death was a devastating shock for the millions of fans watching, you could at least take solace in knowing that he probably wouldn't have wanted to go out any other way. Dale Earnhardt died doing what he loved, and his final memory was watching his
Racing.
own drivers speeding towards the finish line with nothing but open racetrack in front of them.
Dang. That's poetic.
I think Dale
It's like
Earnhardt
poetry,
is
it
the best race driver
rhymes.
that's ever been in a stock car. How do you feel about that?
Well, yeah, that's a big statement. I don't, I think my dad was the greatest when it comes to racers.
For as much as he accomplished, no one knew for sure if Dale ever felt he proved himself to his father. It's a burden he took to his grave, leaving us to wonder about Dale much in the same way Dale had to wonder about Ralph. The only thing we know for sure is that Dale finally caught up with his father's ghost. The story doesn't end here. Although NASCAR suffered perhaps its greatest ever loss, they still had 35 more races to run that season.
Oh,
When faced with
brother,
their
G-Man
lowest
became a
moment,
spy.
NASCAR had no other option but to push forward.
Life goes on, we forge ahead. 1 week later, Steve Park wins at Rockingham for Dale Earnhardt Incorporated. DEI. That's the only DEI I care for. They'd be the final win of Park's career. Nice. With an Earnhardt hat in his hand, no less. Hell yeah. After the tragedy of Daytona, Richard Childress would call on rookie Kevin Harvick to fill Earnhardt's vacant race car. All right, March 11th, in a photo finish, Harvick would score his first career victory in just his third Cup start. The finish perfectly mirrored Earnhardt's victory at the same track a year prior. Wow. Number 3. That really is the legacy of Dale. Dale is their Kamiyoshi. Their Kamiyoshi. July 7th, 2001. NASCAR returns to Daytona. And Dale Jr. He's leading the pack.
Here they come, turn 4, final lap of the Pepsi 400. Michael Waltrip in second, but it's going to be Dale Earnhardt Jr. using lessons learned from his father to go from 6th to 1st and score the victory.
And boom! What's a Kamiyoshi? What's a Paladin? You're watching a VTuber and you don't know what a Kamiyoshi is? It means it's essentially your greatest Oshi of all time. Your most favorite Oshi of all time.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. would win at the track that took his father's life just 5 months earlier. For many fans, this win was enough to heal the wounds from the tragedy of that year's Daytona 500. Some fans thought this finish was literally too good to be true, and that NASCAR rigged it. A compelling theory until you consider the years of DEI restrictor plate dominance that followed. From 2001 through 2003,
red, white, and blue
DEI
everywhere.
carried the torch of Dale Earnhardt's restrictor plate prowess by winning 9 of the 12 superspeedway events. In 2004, Dale Jr. would achieve what took his father 20 years, by winning the Daytona 500 in just his 5th attempt.
Damn, 5th try. Now that is why kids, that is why their children are the sequels.
Following the death of Dale Earnhardt, NASCAR would work to implement an unprecedented amount of driver safety improvements, most notably the Hans device, Safer Barrier, and Car of Tomorrow, to make sure that an accident like Dale Earnhardt's could never happen again.
Good. All right, let's test this, see if it works. Ooh, thud. Holy shit.
Incredibly hard impact into the safer barrier.
Look at that safer
Look
barrier
at
right there.
that.
Just crushed all that stuff.
He is out of that.
Pump.
Thank goodness.
And he's okay.
And to this day, Dale Earnhardt still remains NASCAR's last fatality.
Thank goodness for that. But
unfortunately, NASCAR's great strides in driver safety may be the only positive news for the sport in the past decade.
But
attendance,
now it's boring.
sponsorships, and television ratings have all
Where's the
drastically
blood?
declined in the
This
past
is
10
boring.
years, leaving the few remaining fans
No
to
violence.
wonder what exactly
Boring.
drove everyone away. Some people blame the recent mismanagement from Brian France and other NASCAR executives. Some people blame the chase and other gimmicks that have alienated NASCAR's core fan base. Some people blame the lack of interesting or relatable drivers.
Joey Logano.
Some people blame the recession and how it hit NASCAR's core audience the hardest, preventing them from going to races. If you ask me, however, the main reason so many fans stopped watching NASCAR is, ironically, because it got safer. As morbid as it is to say, by removing the inherent risk of racing, NASCAR removed the one thing that separated them from all other sports. Today, NASCAR drivers have never been farther from the snarling jaws of certain death, and the sport has been made far less compelling as a result.
Not sure where Carl's going. Maybe he thinks if he runs across the start-finish line, that'll count.
Talladega.
That's what he's doing.
Oh, he's trying to finish the race on foot.
An athlete, a marathon runner, I want to finish the race.
I want to finish the race, and he does it. Yeah. Shades of Ricky Bobby.
That fateful day, NASCAR fans have been trying to fill the void that Dale Earnhardt left. There's the driver who carried on his name, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Following his father's passing, he became NASCAR's perennial most popular driver until his retirement in 2017.
But no Cup championships.
Although he finished with a respectable 26 career wins,
no
Dale
cups.
Jr. failed to capture a single championship and could never live up to his father's godlike legacy. There's the driver who carried on his car, Kevin Harvick, who was able to capture at least one championship and his own Daytona 500 victory. A successful career for sure, but not much compared to Earnhardt's. There's the driver who carried on his title as the 7-time champion, Jimmy Johnson, who in 2016 became the third ever driver to accomplish this feat. While he is statistically the best driver since Earnhardt, Johnson never managed to appeal to the fans in the same way, as his relatively bland demeanor failed to capture the hearts and minds of the greater audience. And then there's the driver who carried on Earnhardt's number. After the tragedy,
Number 3.
Richard Childress retired the number from active competition for over a decade. But he brought it back in 2014 for the full-time Cup debut of his grandson, Austin Dillon. In 2015, at the finish of the July Daytona race, Dillon would suffer a gruesome-looking accident where his car was launched directly into the catch fence. For a brief moment, every fan watching tensed up in horror after witnessing what they thought was the second fatality in the 3-car at Daytona. Incredibly,
and a
Austin
catch
Dillon
fence at
walked
that
away
as
from
well.
this with only minor injuries.
But
Some
he's
have called him
fine.
the luckiest driver in NASCAR today. But his luck hasn't contributed to much success on the track. So
yeah, he
far,
may be
after
lucky,
5
but he
full-time
just kind
seasons,
of
Dylan has only
exists.
2 wins to his name. One of those wins came in the 2018 Daytona 500, as 20 years after Earnhardt's storybook victory, the 3-car returned to victory lane at Daytona.
And here it comes with the number 3, 20
And
years ago. 20 years of
Dylan.
trying for Earnhardt. He won the Daytona 500. Austin Dillon.
And Austin Dillon wins it. Nice.
We're all searching for the next Dale Earnhardt,
The
but we know
3-car
deep down
wins.
that he's irreplaceable. Many fans consider Earnhardt the greatest NASCAR driver of all time,
The GOAT.
possibly because we
The
never got to
GOAT
see him
of
decline.
GOATs.
Dale Earnhardt remained one of the best drivers in the sport till the day he died, and even then, he still finished ahead of 30 other drivers.
Dang.
Everyone knows what it's like to be stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic, and all of us experience the same desire to break free from all the gridlock. Not just from the traffic, but from everything. Responsibilities,
Indeed.
labor, authority. Sometimes there's no better feeling than seeing miles of open road in front of you. Dale Earnhardt gave this feeling to millions watching at home, and seeing Dale succeed made them believe they could too. For many, Dale Earnhardt was a real-life hero. But most people
A
will never
real
know his
American
story.
hero.
Most people only know him as some guy who died. They'll never know about the turmoil, the struggle, the determination, the notoriety, the heartbreak, or the triumph. They'll never care about any of it. Because who could care about a bunch of cars going around in circles?
Yeah.
NASCAR may never be
redneck
popular
shit.
again. Realistically, it probably should have never become popular in the first place. It's just a simple sport where
Number
no-name
3
hillbillies
fans
gather to watch
forever.
a bunch of fast cars race each other. But Dale Earnhardt made it mean more than that. And for as long as NASCAR sticks around, stock car racing fans will always remember the man in the black number 3, because there will never ever be another driver like him.
You got
No
plenty of
one
money. Don't
can
need
ever reach that.
to keep racing. Is it worth the risk to keep on going?
Is it worth the risk?
Win.
To win. There is a house in New Orleans. 25-year anniversary. Yep. I was 2 weeks late. I was 2 weeks late. 60 minutes ago, they knew nothing about NASCAR. Now I'm grieving over a man I previously knew nothing about. Yep. That's how it is. That's how it be. He's not dead, though. He's just a lap ahead. That rhymes. Nice. See, I was raised in Kannapolis. As a kid, I jokingly taught the town I was jokingly taught to count 1, 2, Dale, 4, 5, 6, 7, Junior, 9, 10. He died and still finished 12th. That's how good he was. And the biggest takeaway, all you need to know about him is that when he finally won the Daytona 500, he didn't say, I won it. He said, we won it. His crew won it. Everyone in his crew won it. We still miss you, Dale, even after 25 years. God damn.